Hey everybody, this is Josh,
And this is Dean.
and we're back again with another episode of Finding an Agent. So this week we're going to talk a little bit about Dean's adventures in trying to find an agent and what he's been up to. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I did this week. So Dean, you want to go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, so what I did this week in terms of my agent search was send out a submission, but it was unusual in that it was by regular US mail instead of by email or on a web submission type system. And I've only done one other US mail submission for in terms of the agent search, or one US mail query letter. And putting it together and putting together a 10-page sample and doing the query letter and actually printing it out. To me, it felt more real than doing an agent search or it's a submission by email or web. So I preferred it. And I would actually think I want to find more agents that I can submit to by regular US mail rather than doing it just by email.
I think when we talked about this, you'd mentioned that you had to include a self-addressed stamped envelope, so they respond to you in the same manner. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And to me, that's part of the charm, I guess, would be actually getting a response that's, I suspect it's going to be more likely to be not just a form denial. I would tend to think that if you do it by that method, they're more likely to actually have a somewhat personalized denial, at least.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did the agent that you queried mention anything about response time or anything like that as it pertains specifically to the snail mail submissions?
I can't remember, and I was trying to look real quick on his website or on the website for him and see if he gave a specific response, but see if I can find it. And he was on, I think I found him, he was on Publishers Marketplace is the website where I found him. And you gave me his reference. And he says he accepts snail mail and he responds within 5 to 8 weeks. So he doesn't make a distinction between email and snail mail.
That's pretty good. Well, anything else new happened this week with your pending submissions?
No, I didn't get any rejections or responses or anything like that. I haven't gone through and done a count. I'd say I've got maybe 10 outstanding at this point, 5 to 10 outstanding that I haven't heard anything back on yet.
Gotcha. So for me on my week, oh wait, did you have anything else you wanted to add on that?
No, that's it.
Okay. So for me on my week, I guess you could say in a way, I maybe took a step backwards, but I was researching for potential markets to submit my short story collection to, markets that might take unsolicited short story collections. Not having a lot of luck finding anything on that, but in doing that search, I did come across one market that in the past had accepted short story collection submissions. They were not open to those at this time, but they were accepting some isolated short stories for anthologies that they're currently putting together. And one of the stories that I have in the collection that I'm trying to market happened to be a really good fit, or at least what I think was a really good fit for one of the anthologies that they're accepting submissions on. So I went ahead and pulled that story out and did some work, just went back over it one more time, make sure it was super clean, and then I felt good with it. And I went ahead and submitted that to one of the anthologies. And my thought process behind that is hoping that if I can make this sale, that's one more credit that I can use on my resume to help bolster myself when I'm marketing the Red Phantom to an agent. So anyway, I sent that submission out this week and I'm hoping to hear something back on it. Hopefully I'll get that accepted, and that would be good.
Well, that sounds good.
All right. Well, so anyway, that's about all I've been up to this week. Dean, did you have anything else to add?
That's pretty much it in terms of my progress.
Well, I guess we can turn to what we've been reading. And at least for me, that's been interesting because what I read this week was I finished reading the Matriarchs Dean's novel that he's currently querying. I had read that as Dean had been writing it, and we had been exchanging and doing reading critiques and what have you. But I had actually not read the very end of that. And so I went back and I reread about the last 40% of that novel over the last 2 weeks. And so I'd finished that, and that was interesting. It was a really good story. I really enjoyed seeing how Dean pulled it together. It's a fairly substantial body of work. It clocks in at about 550 pages.
Hey, Josh,
And,
just wanted to let you know the check's in the mail. So thanks for that plug, by the way.
good, I'll be looking for it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a good read for me, and I don't want to go into too many details. Dean and I have already kind of discussed it and kind of talked through all of that, but we don't want to do that on camera because we don't want to give away any spoilers. But anyway, kind of exciting stuff. Looking forward to seeing what Dean does with that book. So, Dean, what about you? What have you been reading?
I've been getting into a science fiction, or I'm sorry, not a science fiction, a magazine that I ordered a subscription to, and I'd read some of their articles or some of their stories before, and it's not my traditional area of reading, although I do read it some, which is it's Alfred Hitchcock's mystery magazine. And to me, like, this was really worth it. I got magazine of fantasy and science fiction, and it's okay, but the stories in this, in my opinion, are very compelling. The authors who write them, clearly, are very dedicated to mysteries and detective type stories, and they do a really good job, in my opinion. They don't go off into too much in terms of political agenda or anything like that. Yeah, and so it had some really good stories. One of them was like a story about a lawyer, or a private detective who works for a lawyer, that I thought was really good. And I think that was called Minerva James and the Judgment of the Furies by Mark Bruce. I thought it was really solid detective type story. And another one was about some kind of security role. The character has some kind of security role at a courthouse, and on the side he solves mysteries, and so he was trying to solve the mystery of a missing retired judge. And that one was Lydia's Law, I believe, by Kevin Egan. Yeah, Lydia's Law by Kevin Egan. And I thought he did a really good job too. I don't read detective and mysteries as much as I read science fiction, but at least from my perspective, I thought both of those authors did a really good job.
Is that a subscription that you get in the mail, or did you pick that up at a newsstand, or?
Yeah, I get it in the mail, and that's part of its charm, in my opinion. I recommend it. Like, you can get it obviously on Kindle or whatever, but to me, getting the paper copy in the mail once a month, it's nice to, you get home from work or whatever, and you open your mailbox and, there's your new magazine subscription. And so, I recommend that. And, they do some interesting things. Like I said, we talked about this before. They do a little thing for aspiring writers where, they show you a picture and then you submit a story that's 250 words or less based on it. I can't find it right now, but anyway, they show a picture and you're supposed to write a story based on it. And then, if you win, you get $25 plus you get published in the magazine. So, I think that's a nice thing for them to do for kind of up and coming writers, maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. About how many stories are there in the magazine, or about how long is the magazine?
It's about 180, 190 pages. Obviously there's advertisement in there, and they have a lot of other extra stuff. Like, they've got a whole section of, like, crossword type puzzles that I'm sure mystery readers, love. And they do some book reviews and things like that. So, but it's got at least a dozen stories in there. So you get a lot of value for, how much is it? $7.99 an issue. Wow, inflation. But at any rate, I think there's a lot of value for that cost, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So we've kind of talked about this a little bit in the past. For science fiction, you've got the three big ones: Asimov's fantasy and science fiction, and Analog. Is that right?
Yeah, Analog. Yeah.
And then in mystery, you've got Alfred Hitchcock's and Ellery Queen. I I can't really think of anything comparable in horror, but those are five pretty established markets that have been around for a long time. And it's good to know that they're still producing quality stuff too.
Yeah, and I want to say that I think they're all under the same publisher. I want to say I think it's Dell Publishing that produces all five of those. I believe I could be wrong about that.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I think they're all under the same publisher, and it's kind of like a division of labor. Like Alfred Hitchcock's, I think Alfred Hitchcock is more the detective. We were talking about the distinction between like a detective story and a mystery, where the detective story is more, it's less of a puzzle and more just, this cop type person, solving a crime. And then a mystery would be Ellery Queen, I think, is more like a Sherlock Holmes type mystery, or what you would think of. And I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I apologize to mystery readers, but that's my impression at least. And then same thing with the science fiction magazines. Asimov is more character driven stories, and Analog is more hard science fiction type stories.
Gotcha. Well, I think that pretty well wraps us up. Dean, you got anything else?
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, we want to remind everyone, if you're watching this, like and subscribe, leave a comment, let us know if you want a book. We'll send you a book. Dean and I still have plenty on hand to give away. Once they're gone, they're gone. But for now, we still got plenty on hand. So like and subscribe, leave a comment. And if we get some Q&A, we'll do that on here too. So thanks. Have a good week.
Take care, everybody.
Sorry, I got to start over.
I don't know why that's backwards. It's really weird.
Shit. All right.
We'll get better at this as we go, I guess. And
what's going into the sausage here.
There's definitely some reflection off my head. Yeah, I may end up in federal prison.